So on today's Card Academy lesson, we're going to go over two distinctive ways to control cards from a peak position. So I'm going to show you guys one version that was actually taught by Xavier Spade on his channel, and I'm going to teach you my variation on the same move. Now, the original move is something that goes all the way back to Ed Marlowe from his Fingertip Control book. Now, Fingertip Control is one of those books that is invaluable in Magic because of how many different things you could do from either this position or this position, where it really seems like you really have no control over the cards whatsoever. Also, when it comes to selections of playing cards, one of the things that I want you to get used to if you're starting off Magic, or even if you're not starting off Magic, is the idea of playing around with different ways to have a card selected. So for example, the spectator calls stop anywhere they want. And of course, from that process, you're either able to peek at the card or control it. But more likely than not, if you implant the idea of the spectator having a thought of card and saying, you're thinking of that card, I want you to remember that card in your mind, don't forget that card. By repeating that simple phrase, you're going to find that the spectator is going to forget the selection process. And the trick is going to become that much more amazing when it's a thought of card as opposed to a selected card. So that's just a little bit of a tidbit to think about. Now, the first method here that I'm going to show you is the direct method from Ed Marlowe himself. You're going to have one spectator call stop anywhere they want. Let's say they call stop over here on the king of spades. Now you turn to another spectator. They call stop. Let's say they call stop over here on the eight of diamonds. Of course, in the action of regripping the cards and giving the deck one simple cut, all it takes for you to bring those two cards under your control. So let's go over that particular control, and then we're going to go over my variation on it. That isn't one cut, but it's still clean and a little bit easier to do than this particular method. So for this, you're going to hold the cards in left-handed mechanics grip, just like this in the left hand, or whichever hand is your non-dominant hand. You're going to turn to the spectator, and you are going to have them call stop anywhere they want as you use your middle finger to riffle up the top edge of the deck. So let's say they call stop over here. Now, here is one of the first moves that you're going to have to do. You're going to have to let go of this card and let that single card run. And you're going to have to retain a break as you turn to the next spectator and have them call stop. So you're repositioning a break. Usually when you have one of these break techniques, you just riffle off keeping a break and you have a card with the break directly underneath. However, in this particular method, you need to get a break and reestablish it above the card. And the way you do that, spectator call stop, they call stop over there. You let that single card riffle, and then that's where you put pressure with your pinky and allow the separation to be kept by the pinky. So this happens as you have the spectator call stop. They call stop over here. You let one go, put pressure with your pinky, and now you turn to another participant and you continue riffling off and have them call stop anywhere they want. Let's say call stop over here. You're going to carry out the exact same action as before. The only difference is that this time you are going to employ the use of a ring finger break. This is a new concept that we haven't covered here on the Academy, but there is a good portion of Magic that involves the use of multiple breaks, and this is one of them. Now, the good thing about tricks that require multiple breaks is that usually the breaks are very, very quick. So they're not something that you're holding for a prolonged period of time. In this case, you're only holding this for a fraction of a second. Now, when I close up the spread and I have a break with my ring finger and my pinky, I want you to notice that I'm only using the flesh of my ring finger and my pinky to hold the break. So I'm not inserting them inside of the deck. It's just the flesh that's holding a break. If you want, you could still spread the cards from this position and coalesce the cards. However, here's going to be the actual action of the control itself. You're going to lift up all the cards above the ring finger break. So in this case, you're lifting up all the cards above the ring finger break. Now you're going to put pressure with your thumb on the upper left corner of this card over here. This is actually going to be the second spectator's card. So once again, you're going to lift up the cards at the ring finger break. You're going to put pressure with your thumb on the upper left corner of this card and almost separate it from the rest of the deck, because what's going to happen is that you are going to separate this card from the rest of the deck, and you're going to use your fingertips of the right hand to grab the remaining cards underneath this single top card and drag those cards off to the right. So let me just go over that at speed over here. You are putting pressure. That pressure is going to separate that card from the rest of the deck and allow your ring finger to grab the rest of the cards above the break and coalesce it with the packet that is in your right hand. Now, by putting pressure with the thumb, that's going to keep this card on top of the left-handed pile as you bring that pile back on top of the deck. And now that actually effectively controls both cards to the top of the deck. So let's go over that while turning both cards face up so you see the actual action of the move. Spectator call stop right here. Riffle off one. I'm going to turn that card face up just for the sake of explanation. I'm going to keep a pinky break on that one. Spectator call stop over here. Same exact action as before. I'm going to turn that card face up. However, I am holding a ring finger break above that card. So now you could spread the cards and gesture or maybe have a little bit of a conversation with the spectator. When you want to control the card, you're going to lift up all the cards above the first break, put pressure with the thumb, separate that packet. Now that's going to allow you to grab the cards underneath and simply cut those to the top of the deck, which is going to bring both of those cards directly to the top. So that is the original Ed Marlowe variant on the double peak control. Now here's my take on it, which again is a little bit simpler, but it's not as minimal as a single cut, because you notice that in this move, you're able to do it in a single cut. In my version, you have to do a double undercut style action, which I think it's the same thing. So for this secondary handling of the control, you have the first participant call stop anywhere they want. So they call stop over here. Then you're going to turn to another participant. Let's say they call stop on the 4 spades. Of course, in coalescing the cards, it's a very simple matter of just giving the deck a simple cut. And you have the 8 of hearts on top and, of course, the 4 spades on the bottom. So let's go over that particular handling. First things first, you're going to do the exact same thing as before. Spectator call stop. They call stop over here. You're going to let one card go. And then you are going to continue off after establishing a pinky break. So let's say they call stop over here on the 7 of spades. This time you don't have to let this card riffle off. You could just put the pressure with the middle finger, or the ring finger rather, and continue off with the break that way. Now for this particular handling, all you have to do is lift up all the cards above the break, and you're going to insert it into the gap that's created by the pinky and the rest of the deck. That's all that's happening. So all you're simply doing is, after establishing control of that card and establishing the ring finger break, you're going to lift up all the cards above the ring finger. You're going to insert it, and you're going to pull down with your pinky, which is going to allow for a bigger gap there, which is going to allow you to insert those cards underneath. And then you could just simply grab all the cards underneath the break and bring those to the top as well, essentially replicating a double undercut action. And now you have both cards controlled to the top and to the bottom of the deck. So one more time, first spectator call stop. Let's say they call stop over here. Turn to another spectator, they call stop. Let's say they call stop over here. All you're going to do, lift up all the cards above the first ring finger break, bring those between the cards that you've created because of the gap with your pinky finger. Then you're going to grab all those cards and bring it to the bottom, much like a double undercut. Now you have that card on top and you have the other card on the bottom. So from this position, if you want, and you want both cards on top, all you have to do is a simple milk shuffle, whereby putting pressure with your thumb and your fingers at the back, you bring those 2 cards together, continue shuffling off, and now you could just simply overhand shuffle those cards from the bottom to the top of the deck by running single cards, and you control both those cards to the top of the deck. So there you have 2 methods using peaks, and using that peak position to control 2 selected cards. It's a wonderful little thing. I love having cards selected from this position or even from this position, because there's a certain air of fairness that you can't replicate with having a selection. This is something that they're used to seeing. This is something that spectators attribute to Magic, whereas having something like this just seems way more fair. Having something like this seems infinitely more fair, even if you're just changing a little bit of a something. So that is the peak control for 2 cards. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Thank you guys for being members of the Academy, and I hope to see you on the next lesson.